Okay, hi everyone. So welcome to our Training Matters Deadlift Technical Analysis. Today we have Audrey with us here, and today we specifically want to look into the Sumo Deadlift. Now, I believe the viewers out there are quite interested in what we're gonna say about the technique of Sumo Deadlift because our giveaway for the deadlift is actually the most popular one, and we get a lot of participants in it. And Audrey is the winner for this contest, so congratulations. And before we start, we just need to allow our viewers to know a little bit more about you. So can you share with us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, uh, where you uh, where do you train, and what do you do?
So I'm Audrey. 22 years old, and I just graduated. So I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse. And usually train. Oh, I sign up at Anytime Fitness North Point.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, Audrey, I just wanted to. It's good to find out that you're a nurse, and obviously this is quite a testing time for healthcare workers. So thank you for your service, and hopefully we can give you something back, which is hopefully will help you with your technique analysis, which is just a small part of your service. So yeah, so before we
Yeah.
start, uh, do you do you do your own programming and stuff?
No, I'm
Or
under
your
coach.
coaches? Sorry, say it again.
I, I have a coach. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So yeah. So just so we're like clear and stuff, the three of us want to give you just want to give you just some constructive like criticism for you to
Mm.
take into your training. But since you have a coach, we just want to make sure that whatever we say here, you check with your coach and make sure that he's okay with or he or she is okay with you implementing some of these feedback, because we don't want to sort of undermine your coach and stuff. So if
Mm.
you're okay with that, then yeah, let's move on with the analysis. So make sure you check with your coach. Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Hey Audrey, how long have you been training for? How long have you been in powerlifting for, or been powerlifting
Um.
training for?
Well, because previously I was trained like bodybuilding stuff. So like I just started like getting serious in powerlifting around last year June.
Okay,
Yeah. Mm.
cool. And how long have you been lifting weights for?
Mm, about 1.5 years, 1.5.
Cool, that's great. Yeah.
Okay,
Well, Clinton, kick it off.
okay, all right. So now that we have understand and the viewers have understand a little bit more about you and your training experience, which is a bit of bodybuilding and then about a year, I guess, uh,
Mm.
of powerlifting training. Now we're gonna jump right into how we can help you. So as you can see from the breakdown, it is quite similar to how we do it on the previous video, which is the bench press. We're gonna have three parts. The first part is jumping straight into the video analysis to see your lift and then provide some feedback from it, and also to do a little bit of information gathering from you because we want to understand what is your understanding of uh, the sumo deadlift itself. Okay, and then from there we can pinpoint a weakest link, a specific problem for us to help us improve. Help you improve. I'm sorry. Okay, and then the next part is all about us trying to explain to you what we are, the thing that we want to tell you lah, basically to make you understand. And then lastly, we're gonna provide some exercises and drills for you to work on so that you can improve the aspect of it. Okay, so before we go into video analysis and finding out the problem, uh, what we're gonna ask you is what do you understand about the sumo deadlift, specifically the starting position of it?
Mm, mm,
Just tell us what you know for
Yeah,
starting
yeah.
position.
Or just tell us in general what you know of the sumo daily.
Yeah.
open up your hip and bring your hip as close to the bar and spread the floor. And I think that's all.
Okay.
I mean more, but what I can think of is this. Yeah.
Okay, so it's been a while since we lift weight, so thanks for sharing with us what you remember. Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
keep this in mind and then we'll bring all these points back because basically what we are trying to help you understand is how do I open up the hips properly, which muscles to actually engage, and how do I get into a more optimal starting position, which we find that and we believe that it should be the first thing we should be working on based on your videos. Okay, so now let's take a look at your video. The first video that you sent us is this, so let's just watch first. Okay.
Mm.
Right, so what I like about this pool is actually you take your time in the setup, and ultimately when you pull, your shoulders are in line with the bar if you look from the side. Okay. All right, but one of the issues that we face here is actually the knee positioning itself and also the foot. Okay, so what we realize is the knees are kind of buckled in from here. So when you pull, right, do you find that it's very hard to use your legs, and then most of the weight is on your back and on your hips?
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I kind of guessed it right? So in this position, it's very hard for you to use your legs. And then you see your knees start to buckle here and there, and it's not stable when you pull. So and also when you are pulling, right, the foot is so flat. So it's quite hard to see from here, but we zoom in and saw that your foot is quite flat, and uh, we have to do something about it lah. Okay? Okay, now we take a look at your next video. Alright, so in this video, right, because of the angle, we cannot really judge the knee positioning and how well you open up the hips, but what we can actually see is your back positioning. Okay, so at the starting position, right, we can see a little bit of your lower back flexion, meaning a slight rounding of your lower back, even though you try to keep it as straight as possible. And what we suspect is because of the action of you putting your focus on trying to bring your shoulders in line with the bar. Am I right? So when you're doing this setup, before you pull, you're trying to engage your legs to bring the bar in line, your shoulders in line with the bar. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by doing so, right, uh, it is very, very hard with this sequencing of action. You will find that you will have a lot of difficulty trying to keep that back as neutral as possible. Is that one of your problem for sumo as well?
All right.
Okay. All right. So the last video, so I find that this is the best pull I've seen from you, but the same thing occurs, which is the lower back issue lah. So what I like is actually your hip positioning during the pull and your shoulder position. But we would like to do something about that lower back issue. Okay. So basically what we have find from your video is two major problems, which is how do we uh, find the optimal starting position based on your leverages, which is your torso to femur length, and also based on your muscle composition. Muscle composition basically means how developed your certain group of muscle is. Okay, specifically one part which Gigi is gonna share with you, which is quite responsible in creating the external rotation. So external rotation is the one responsible, from what you said, to try and keep your hips as close to the bar as possible. But with your position, as shown in the video, from what you have sent us, it is very hard for you to optimally get your hips as close as possible without compensating of the rounding of the lower back. Okay, so the next thing we want to also learn is some of the supplementary stuff, which is also important, that can help you create a more proper positioning and hence execution, which is the foot arch lah. Okay. So Audrey, at this point, you understand, right? We have already established the problem. Okay.
Do you have any questions for any of us?
Yeah. So far, so good?
From what I observe from my sumo, right, like it's been all the time, like because like only like train like once a week for especially for deadlift. So I only like do deadlift like once a week. So every week, right, I realize my foot position, my hip position, even my back position is different, like compared to my last week training.
Mm.
Like it could be this week, it could be good, just like the last video that you said, which is like kind of good, and then the next week, right, it can be sucks.
Okay.
Like my on and off, yeah, for
Okay.
all and like position, yeah.
Okay. So in order to fix the issue of consistency, right? I think one of the more important things I will suggest is we'll provide you with some of the guidelines that you have to fit. Uh, it's like if you work in a nurse, there's procedure, right? There's SOP uh, towards a patient. For example, you have a timing where you will check the patient's blood pressure, temperature, serve food, and stuff. So all these are like uh, procedures for you to cross-check so that you're in the right position so that we can pull. So this will help to increase the consistency so that your sumo deadlift will be more consistent and look the same on every session. Okay, so now that we come to this point, right, which is quite important because in the next few slides, right, we're going to show you what are the things that are very, very important and you have to keep in check so that your position will be more optimal and more consistent. Okay. First, we need to look into the principles of a sumo deadlift starting position. So I believe you know also, uh, what are the things responsible is definitely the hip position and how you move the hip to create that hip external rotator action, which will result in how your knee should position and your angle. Okay, so there are some of the stuff which will help you understand so that you know where your knee should be positioned and how your foot will be positioned as well. So there's foot angle, how well you should angle your foot, and what behavior you need to maintain so that there's consistency lah. So all these three things will result in optimal shoulder position as well as the upper body position. Okay, so as you can see, I mentioned a lot about position, which is what we're gonna work on. Okay, so you can see Audrey on the left picture with a lot of red bad arrows over here. So this is more of what we see on your first video. So this is my reenactment of what you did. So as you can see from this arrow, your hips are kind of pushed back. So is not really trying to bring the hips as close as possible, and your knees are buckling in and the foot are collapsed. So as you can see, hips back not open, as you said. Your knees will buckle in and then the foot arch is collapsing. So we're gonna bring you from here and try to make you into the picture you see on the right side, which is how we should pull. Basically, how do I externally rotate my hips so that my knees can go out, and what is my foot doing so that I can maintain this strong position and create leg extension for your sumo. So just now, you have shared with me that for your pull, you can barely feel your legs doing the work. You can feel a lot of your back and your hips. So I'm gonna set you into a position where you can actually use more leg drive and then hip drive, which is basically what a sumo deadlift, how you should perform a sumo deadlift. Okay. All right, so next to the next slide, right? So as you can see, these two pictures, the left picture is the side view of my reenactment of your first video. So as you can see, the torso angle of this on the left picture is quite critical as compared to the right side where it's full of green lines and green buttons. Okay, so in a sumo deadlift, what we want is to try and create a more upright torso so that we can create that quad extension and then hip extension. In this position, right, you can never create that quad extension. So you can never feel your legs doing the work when you're pulling in this way. So we're gonna help you get into this position. Okay. So now that I've helped you understand the problem of it, the difference of what you should not and what you should do, JJ is going to share with you the critical factor you need to know about creating the external rotation. All right, so JJ, take it away.
Okay, so like what we've seen in your video, one of the big issues that we were looking at is basically the keeping the knees out. So when we when we talk about knees out position, we need to think about there are two places where you can create that mobility from and create that stability from. So if you move up from the knee to your hips, what we're looking at would be your glute medius, which is like the that little muscle in the at the side of your hip, and it kind of stretches all the way just below your slightly below your lower back to the top of your hip bone, and then your above that will be your glute max, which is also one of the big uh muscles that will help with external rotation and hip extension. So what it does is bring your hips close to the bar, but it brings your hip close to the bar through through pushing the knees outwards. So if you have your knees in, it's very hard to keep the it's very hard for these muscles to be activated, because when your knees are in, these muscles are at the side and pulling your knees out like that. They will get very long and very lengthened, and it's like a rubber band that is stretched out already. So then it's very hard for it to pull, because now it needs to exert more force to pull it. Okay, so now that we've understand that how to create the muscles that create stability up above the knee, we also need to look at the muscles that, or rather the feet, because that's what we are pushing out on, and you need to look at the feet because that's where our force is being transferred to. So imagine if if your foot is not stable, it's like you're standing on a trampoline, and every time you're pressing into the trampoline, you're pressing the weight into the floor. All the force is being absorbed into your foot. So your foot is actually going from like this and collapsing in. So you're becoming very inefficient. So what we want to do with those two components now is, first of all, we'll look at how you can position your feet. So one of the ways that you need to think about is think about your feet like your hand like this. So this is your heel, and this is the base of your big toe, right? So if you if you don't stabilize it, what you do is your feet will roll in this way, right? So what we want to do is make sure that we have your heel. Your heels are very critical component. So you have to press your heels into the floor like really hard when you start, right? And once you are driving through, when you press the heels through the floor, you should feel a bit of hamstring tension already. That's how you know that. That's how you know that, okay, my heels are solid on the floor. Then the next 2 points that you want to look is basically the base of your big toe and kind of like the base of your little toe. So that fleshy part below the big toe itself, as well as the fleshy part below the little toe and the whole outside blade of the foot. So imagine your if this is your foot, the pressure will be all along the corner here, the base of the little toe and the base of the big toe. So now that you have these three positions, what you want to do is actually bring the heels and the base of the big toe together to form the arch. So we think about your feet doing this, right? And from there, what you should feel is you have a very you might feel a bit, if you are not used to doing it, your feet will kind of feel a bit will feel a bit crampy and stuff. And so, but that's how you know that, okay, my foot arch is very stable, and then I can cue the rest of my upper body to do the work now that it is that now that my feet are stable. So the other thing about this image as well that's really important is you can look at how the knee is in relation to the foot. So you see how the knee in the top picture is kind of pointing in much more this angled more in as compared to the knee and the bottom image, which is angled more out. So what we want to do is whatever angle that you pick for your feet, whether it's straight forward like that, 45 degrees, or however much, you want your knees to be able to open up further your than your uh than your feet angle. Does that make sense? So if you see in your videos, your knees are actually inside of your knee. Whereas what we want is your knees, the angle that they form, to be outside the toe, the feet angle. Okay? Any questions?
No.
Okay, let's move on
I-
to then.
I have a question for you, Audrey. So now that we
Yeah.
have shown you the muscles involved, which is the glute medius to create external rotation, major muscle, and the foot arch, I'm gonna ask you two questions. The first question is, have you tried to engage your glute medius before, or do you know what the muscle is before?
I know the muscle, but I don't know how do we actually engage it.
Okay, perfect. So in a while later, we're gonna show you quite a lot of exercises to help you engage that glute medius. So this is the first step you need to do once this circuit breaker is over. The first step you need to do when it's time for sumo, right? You're gonna try to feel that the glute medius first. Okay? And then
Actually,
if
actually,
yeah,
you can even learn to feel the glute medius now.
yeah, correct.
You don't have to
Right.
wait till you can sumo it.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
home exercise that we will be showing you later so that you can feel your glute medius. It's actually one of those fitness based exercises, but it's quite practical for us powerlifters. Okay, but before that, before we move on to exercises to help you feel the glute medius, Adam is gonna talk to you about building a solid base, which is his house concept in terms of the stance. Adam, take it away.
Yeah. So, Audrey, one thing I
Mm.
noticed, we've noticed with your stance is you've got a very wide stance, and there's nothing wrong with a wide stance as long as you've got the mobility to do so. And we believe you're not quite ready for that ultra wide stance yet. So, we recommend you just bringing in your stance so that it's a little bit narrower. So, if you look at the bottom picture there, you'll see that Clinton's shins are like pretty much vertical, and you would think of them as walls in a house, right?
Mm.
So that's a nice stable foundation that keeps your roof roof stable, right? So above his shins, you've got the hips, and then you see the hips that come up nice, like a nice apex roof there. So that's what you want to. That's when you want to visually see when you're filming from the front, or you see from the front of the deadlift. So you never want your hips lower than your knees, or you never want it too high. Otherwise, too high would be too much of an apex. So we recommend you bringing your feet, your stance in, and then once you gain that glute med development and that strength throughout the glute med and that flexibility through the adductors as well, and that external rotation through the knees, then maybe you could consider widening out your stance. But I think you're just not quite ready for that ultra wide stance yet.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you have any questions?
No.
So you see how on the bottom picture there that the joints are stacked nicely, the knees are stacked on top of the ankle, the knees are tracking the toes, the hips are in a nice position there. Once pull into that pulling position, then you have nice stacked joints just before you pull off the floor. So that's with your shoulders in line with the bar, which you've already got. That's kudos to you for having a good torso position to start off with. But right now we just want to focus on the lower extremities.
Mm.
Anything to add, guys?
Yeah. So
So, Adam, why is it important to stack the joints?
Well, it gives you a nice solid base. It protects your joints.
Mm.
So with that ultra wide stance you've had, your legs are internally rotated. So when you get up to that lockout position, you've put a lot of force, a lot of pressure into your knees. And do you understand? And your hips. So we want to try and get yourself in a better position so everything is nice and protected.
okay, so to
And,
add
and,
on,
and it's
right?
ultimately stronger too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So being able to be more stable and being able to maintain that externally rotated position is more important than cutting short the range of motion as of now for you. Okay. But bear in mind when you close in your stance, right? In order to get your shoulders in line without rounding your lower back, your hips need to go slightly lower so that you can get yourself into the optimal position. But we will rather you put your hips slightly lower to pull while maintaining a proper position than seeing your knee collapse as you pull, because it will be more consistent that way if you bring your stance in and maintaining the hip in a more optimal position based on the stance. Okay, so as we go along and do accessory exercises and exercises that improve your positioning and mobility, then you should, after that, then you should explore widening out your stance to the max to reap the full benefits of the lift itself and your leverages. Okay.
Also,
So
with you're adjusting your stance as well. We've recommended an exercise that will help you feel out through that new range of motion and actually discover that new hip positioning. We'll get to that, and I'll explain that to you when we get there.
Okay. There's also, I want to add in the mention of your toe angle. Okay, so as what JJ has mentioned, this is your foot. If we apply the 3 points of focus, which creates the foot arch. So if you put your foot directly facing to the front, so how to find a foot stance, foot angle is like that. You start with the front, and then you start going down. You start squatting down towards the bar. As you start going down, you realize that your biggest toe, imagine my index finger, the pressure point here, is starting to come off, which means that it's time to slide your foot out a little bit. Audrey, understand? Okay, so
Yeah.
you slide to a point where your biggest toe can be in contact with the bar, the floor, and you can press it hard while maintaining the outside pressure as well as the heels. So if your foot slide until in this manner and your hand touch the bar, this is your foot stance, your foot angle. So I've just taught you how to find your toe angle. So once you have established it, you need to try and keep it consistent by remembering when you look at yourself, you create a picture memory of how your toe should position. Okay, so every different people have different toe positioning, but this is the way to find out which is your optimal toe positioning, toe angle lah. Okay.
and one
Yep.
one way that you can visualize is I like to use is to think about a clock. If you can see what at at what time your feet are pointing at. So if you imagine a clock, if it's at like obviously it won't be at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, because then it just means your feet are like that.
Yeah.
So it should roughly be some people will be between about 2 and 10 or 11 and 1, and you have to kind of play around, maybe like half 1 and half 11, that kind of time. So you can, once you've set the position, you try to look, when you come back to the lift again, you try to look for the same like time, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay. So
Just a quick question, Audrey. Whenever you set up to the bar, do you set up the exact same way every time, or do you just go up and walk up to the bar and just set up? Just curious.
I would say it depends on the feelings. Like sometimes I feel good with this angle, and then I was at that kind of stance. So if sometimes, because like if like previously I was setting like like 60 degrees, that more than 45-degree, and then but I feel good about it. But another day when I set the same stance, right, it doesn't work on me, like to execute to open up my hip, you know. Yeah, I would say sometimes it's about the feelings. I would say it's feelings. Yeah, that's why my position wasn't consistency.
I think it would be good to discover, even just finding a position that you can be consistent with, and then being able to do that every single time you get to the gym. If you try and set up the same way every time, but you have to adjust it because you can't get there, you don't have that mobility on that day, or you just can't get it right. Maybe adjust it to where you can be consistent and where it can feel strong and where everything's nice and stacked.
Yeah, I would also recommend you to in order to be consistent, always work your way through from the midsection onwards, which is from the hips. So make sure your hip positioning is externally rotated. Then you look at your knees, make sure your knees are facing out. Then you watch the toes and make sure that the angles are always the same. So follow this step, which is the hip first, then the knee first, then the toe. It will help to create more consistency lah. Okay. All right.
So it's exactly like having a mental checklist. Like, okay, step one,
Yeah.
I approach the bar this way. Where are my shins? Where are my knees? What are my hips doing? Then I brace. So it's kind of like you just remember as a step one, step two, step three, step four. Same as if you're at your job, you will be running through those protocols. Like you don't jump steps or you don't do things differently every day. You just do it in a way that you have set out for yourself to be the most consistent. So it's the same thing. You just have to remember, like, I think this is very individual, but a lot of people can benefit from, first of all, slowing down their setup and having a very consistent, okay, step one, step two, step three, step four, and then execute the lift.
And then all of a sudden it's all subconscious and you're just doing it automatically.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share with you the key takeaway of what you should be bringing home. Actually, you're at home already, so basically what you should know. You need to learn how to engage the glute medius properly to create the external rotation, which we'll show you later, so that you can bring your knees always facing upwards. You cannot let it face inwards. Okay, so this is the checklist you need to make sure. Number one, checklist. I know how to engage my glute medius. My hips are externally rotated. Number two, I wash my knees. Are my knees facing out towards the bar? Yes. Okay. Number three, let's check my foot arch. Is my foot arch there? Am I putting all the pressure on the outside foot? And how's my toe angle looking at? Is my biggest toe coming off? Okay, so this is the 3-step process. And lastly, obviously, when you walk into the bar, you need to set your stance slightly closer so that you can get a more stable position now, because from what we see, you do not have a strong awareness of the glute medius, and your glute medius are not solid enough to adopt the wider stance. Okay? Okay, now that we have provided you with the key takeaway, it is now for us to share a little bit more about how do I set up where I create that consistency. Okay, so when we go through the setup, it is quite important for us to revolve around the principle that is in the black square over here. Is how do I move my lower body, which is the hips and knees, while maintaining a rigid torso on the upper body so that my lower back doesn't collapse. And so basically, how do I move the lower body so that my shoulders will get in line with the bar and then be ready for the pull? Okay, so now I'm gonna show you a video. Okay? Yeah, so this is it. Okay, so let's check out the video first. Okay, then I start the pull. All right, so I would recommend two methods of doing it you can try, because some people works in a more dynamic way of doing it, some people work in a more static way of doing it, but there are some principles which are similar. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the dynamic one first. So in this video, basically, the first thing that I do, as you can see here, I set my stance and my foot arch. Then after that, I create external rotation, knees out first. So this is the first checklist you need to do. Okay, so step one done. Once step one is done, I need to try and create the external rotation, keep my back as straight as possible, and bring my hips back. So when I bring my hips back, then I can allow my shoulders to drop and then reach for the bar. Okay. When I reach for the bar, my back needs to try and maintain as straight as possible. Hips still externally rotated. My knees are kind of still facing out. And then the next thing I want to do is to try and bring my hips in so that my shoulders get in line. Okay. So what I'm showing here in this video is a tempo lah. So as you can see, my hips are always slightly higher than the knees, and my shoulders are in line. So this means that I'm in an optimal position and my back is relatively straight. Okay. So another way of setting up is basically back to step one. I bend my knee slightly. So the secret of creating external rotation is always start with your knee slightly bent as well. Okay. So knee slightly bent, externally rotate already. This is step one. And then you're gonna squat down and sit back slowly until you reach this point. So this is the static pull without bringing your hips forward. So once you are here ready, you will straight away pull lah. Okay. So you understand the two different methods of setting up. What are the differences and the similarities?
Mm, they still bring the hips together. I mean, they still bring the hips closer to the bar and pull.
Yeah, correct. But first, you need to create the external rotation first, and then you have to pick based on how do you feel. If you want to start with the scooping or just go down, grab and pull. Okay, but the more important part you need to capture is before I even grab the bar, I need to create the external rotation first. Okay, okay, now we should jump straight into the most important part is how do I feel my glute medius. So I'm gonna bring this conversation to JJ and he's gonna share with you the home workout you should do even maybe after this call. Okay, JJ.
Okay, so the first exercise is you see every Instagram fitness girl doing this, but it's lying lateral leg raises. So what this exercise is actually really good for is and why and how we coach it differently from how you see on Instagram is actually we turn the foot inwards. Okay, so we turn the foot inwards and then we pull up. So what this actually does is actually if you think about your glute medius again, if it's so this is imagine this is the glute medius and these are your legs, right? So if you turn it in, it actually puts the glute medius on stretch so that you can feel it a bit better. So that this is like entry level and you can just do it. But the most important thing that you want to do is when you're doing this is you don't want to use your obliques to crunch your leg up. So you don't want to side bend your leg up. What you want to do is actually create the movement by squeezing your glutes. So yeah, so what a lot of people will tend to do is they will tend to do this. When you see them, they will do this. They will do this movement to bring their hips closer to their shoulder. But you don't want that. You want to actually squeeze the side glute. And how you can do that is actually you point your foot towards the floor, your heels towards the ceiling, and then you pull up. So that is the first exercise that you can actually even if you after this call you can literally go and try it out and see if you feel your glute side before. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is the exercise that I started doing when I first worked with Clinton after my injury and I couldn't walk upstairs the day after. So it's actually very good. The secret is pointing the toes in. Yeah.
So if you're excited whether like I have a lot of female clients who like to tell me, oh, I don't have this part of the muscle, I don't have legs, I don't have quads, I don't have arms, and etc. So if you're excited about whether you have glute medius or you know how to engage the glute medius, this is the first exercise you should try because this is the most entry level, and I'm pretty sure that you will feel it as well. So what
Yeah.
the position where JJ is pointing to, that's the glute medius, and also the diagram previously we have shown you, that's the position of the glute medius. So that is slightly just below the lower back, and you'll feel the slight crunch in it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the next video, JJ.
So the next video is actually this is the secret technique. Yeah, it's called the sumo glute hold. So very simple. What you want to do is actually, if you see how we are using the yellow band here, it's actually very hard. So you want to use a lighter band to start, because this is also another exercise where after you do, you might not be able to walk upstairs lah. So this is one of the very killer exercise. But what you do is you want to put it around your knees. Make sure you have a solid heel contact and you're arching the foot, right? So once you have this position, what you want to do is you kind of want to spread the band apart. So don't let the band pull you in. Because what you will tend to do is you want to pull. So you have to actively push out against the band and not let it pull your knees in. Okay? And then once you have all that tension, you should bend down and then have that slight lean forward over. So it kind of mimics that deadlift position. So this is a drill you can try and you can do it before you deadlift. And what you can do in this position is you can play around with the angle. So make sure that you have your arches set up really nicely, and you're not too pointed forward, or you're not pointed too out as well. So you can use this position, use this exercise to figure out a good position, and then you bend down, push the knees out, and then kind of lean over slightly to feel the glutes working, and you just chill there for maybe 10 to 30 seconds and just feel the muscles. Yep.
So this exercise is actually very good because it helps to create a lot of things. Like it gives you the mental cue of how you should position your stance, your toe, your hips, and your angle of your torso. Okay, so by doing this exercise, right, it's a movement preparation exercise for you before you step into the sumo. So let's say you have a long day at work, long day of standing and whatever, it's very hard to mobilize the lower body. So this is one of the good exercise you can do to help create the external rotation before you move on to the sumo. Okay. The next two exercises is easier. So JJ.
Yeah. So this is this exercise is called the sumo RDL, or the sumo dumbbell RDL. So if you rewind the video slightly, the first two reps that I did was I just bend back, right? And I'm not actually creating any external rotation in the knees, which is not what we want. That's what you are currently doing, and we don't want to reinforce that back movement. So if you move forward slightly, and you can see how I bend my knee slightly, I arch my foot, and then I drive my knees out, and then I smooth my hips back slightly. And then to come up, I squeeze my hips towards the dumbbell. So I'm not actually using my back, but I'm using my hips to squeeze through. Okay, so if we look, you can see this better if we look at it from the front view. So if you look at it from the front view, so look at where my knees are facing. My knees are just I'm not doing anything to my knee. I'm not creating any external rotation. Whereas now I open up first, and then I do the rep. So you can see there's a big difference of the where the knee is pointing. So this is what you want to focus on. And you should, doing these exercises, you should feel not just your glute medius, but also a bit of your adductors trying to squeeze the hips through, rather than pulling up with your lower back.
Yeah.
So
One of the
yeah.
issues that we saw in you is you don't know how to create external rotation while bringing your hips back. Meaning, when you bring your hips back, right, your lower back tends to round. So by doing this exercise, right, it will help to enforce the midsection, which is the lower back area, to keep it straight, external rotate, and also feel the stretch of hamstring and the engagement of the butt when you are locking out. So this is one of the good exercises you should do to understand what your lower body can actually do to benefit in your sumo deadlift and your positioning of your back. Okay.
So this is something you can use as an accessory after like your training and so on.
Okay, so let's move on to the last exercise.
So the last exercise is all you can use it for accessories as well. This is so it's just a split squat actually, but we set it up so that we can cue you a bit better. So the first part, this is we use a plate there to cue ourselves for the foot arch. So you just want to plate lightly in the area so that it gives you an external cue, so that you won't be when your feet won't collapse, or rather if you collapse you will feel it, and you will try to keep that foot really stable and create that arch over the plate. Okay, and if we move up, we see that we have a band around the knees. So what the band does is actually the band is trying to pull your knees inwards. So just like the sumo glute hold, we want to do this exercise where we can push the knees outward. So then while we are going through the split squat, we will feel the outside of our glute, which is the area with the glute med, as well as the glute max. And then we can use this position to kind of cue us to have the knees out position. Yeah. Okay. So this is something you can use as an accessory as well.
So if your knee is collapsing in like this, you're not doing it properly. Whereas you should try to keep your knees out as you go down. So this is a stability exercise for you to work on unilateral as well. to see how well your glutes are handling to maintain that proper knee position. Okay, so all these 4 exercises that we have implemented to you can be done as a warm up before you move into the sumo deadlift. Because as a working class, as someone who needs to go around, help people, do a little bit of labor job, it is quite important to do some warm ups before the sumo deadlift itself. Okay. Do you have any questions as of now, Audrey?
So when you're doing the one that you're holding the dumbbell that JJ doing, do we need to like spread the foot, the foot stance? Do we need to like according to the sumo stance or just
Yeah.
no?
So you want to do it in the stance that is you are going to adopt in the sumo deadlift. So you don't want to be super wide again, and then you try, and then your knees are still coming in. The most important thing is you want to go out, set the foot position, get the arch, and push the knees out, and then sit the hips back.
Remember, we are
Okay?
trying to get you that consistency. So, and also learn to be able to be confident and stable in the sumo stance that you want to adopt, which is a slightly smaller stance that you usually do. And from there, right, it's like squatting, right? Every time you squat, you always have the similar stance. So whichever auxiliary exercises and accessories that is provided to you for the squat. For example, goblet squat, we try to adopt the stance of your normal back squat. So for similar accessories which is specific to sumo deadlift, for example, the sumo grip hold, the white stance RDL, you should try to adopt the stance that you always use for your sumo deadlift. Okay, so all these exercises will help to improve 2 things: the awareness of the glute medius, get it stronger, and also to improve your foot arch. The foot arch is actually quite important as well because it helps in your squat, because your glutes and your adductors are actually stabilizers of the muscles, which are responsible consciously or subconsciously in your lifts. So for example, for squats, obviously we cannot keep thinking about your glute medius because we have other things to think about. For example, how do I angle my torso and my core? But actually, when your glute medius and your adductors get stronger, which is the stabilizers of the hip and the knees, you will start to feel that your squat will get stronger and feel better because the chances of your knee caving in is lesser. So one of the things that I find out is when I prescribe sumo deadlift for my athletes and my lifters, they naturally improve in their squat as well because their knees stop caving in and they can maintain their quad activation. So their hip shooting back or uh, bar path not accurate has been fixed along the way as they do the sumo deadlift correctly. Okay, so it's very important to do it correctly. So by whichever information that we are sharing with you today, those are the steps that you need to be needs to be taken by you to improve your form. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the last part before we bore you out. Adam is gonna share with you 3 exercises which you should be implementing it as a main lift or accessory exercise. Adam, take it away.
Yeah, Audrey, I know you got a coach, but these are just recommendations and what we recommend. I know you're only deadlifting once a week now at the moment. I recommend possibly maybe stepping it up to maybe twice a week. You know, having a main deadlift day and then having a secondary deadlift day, and finish off maybe that session or one of the sessions with the accessory work. And I'll tell you which movements are each now. So obviously, keeping the competition movement in a specificity so you can practice that movement, and really dial in those new techniques that we've talked through. So you've got repetitions, mostly keep that, keep it within the 3 and 6 range for your abilities now and your experience. Intensity wise, between 7 and 9 RP, just to be sure, like when we're talking RP, it's typically reps in reserve, right? So if you're a 9 RP, you've got 1 rep in the tank. If you're 7, you've got 3 reps in the tank. Since uh, for your experience, and especially for learning new technique, I like to think of it as a different way. It's like one rep away from losing technique, from losing good technique. So in your case, we want to look at RP in that way. So with the cues and the instructions that we've given you with the competition sumo deadlift, is to keep your knees out. So that the knees out cue will help you implement that external rotation. Feet down, keeping your feet planted as well, and keeping uh, your big toe, little toe, and heel down, and then really just externally rotating, getting that arch as well, as long as with your external rotation with your knees. Long lats, so that's just really engaging your lats. So extending your arms down instead of fully trying to retract. So you're going to try and get it, and it's still retracted, but like in a neutral position, not overly exaggerate that retraction, and more like crushing your armpit and really lengthening that lat muscle. And then torso high is just pulling your torso higher while you're lengthening your lats. Gives you extra engagement with your lats. With all that simultaneously doing all those cues at a time. I know it's a lot to take in, so maybe just every time, just okay, I'm going to focus on knees out this rep, and then yep, I feel like I've dialed that in, and then just start implementing each other cue, okay, until you dial that all in. The next movement is your secondary exercise. So it's a 303 tempo sumo deadlift. So that's a tempo is a 3 seconds up. So you want to keep the movement nice and even all the way up for 3 seconds. You don't want to be like fast off the floor and then 3 seconds on the second half of the lift. You want to keep it consistently throughout the whole range of motion. And then you repeat that on the way down. So you can choose whichever way you would like to do it. Some people like to just deadlift it up to start off with and then start the movement from the top, or you can start it from the bottom. But I always advise to reset at the top. So once you get on top of the deadlift, the top is when you're standing up with the bar. You're going to reset your brace and then hinge and then control that movement all the way down. And then you just want the bar to just touch the floor. Okay. The reason that being, it's just so hard to reset each time. So you just want to keep constant tension. Repetitions, you want to keep that between 3 and 5. And then intensity between 7 and 9 RPE. You can see below I've added a RPE chart, so it'll help you with percentage wise as well. Once you kind of guesstimate where your estimated 1RM is. So yeah, as I said, between 7 and 9 RPE before your form breaks. In cues and instruction, as I said, reset at the top, and then slightly touch on the floor and touch and go off the floor and then reset at the top. The main cue is just to hold your shape the whole time. The hold your shapes means just hold your technique, hold your brace, and resist from any spinal flexion and internal rotation through the knees. Okay.
So,
Lastly,
Adam, just one thing to say. When you're doing the 303 tempo deadlift, so you will not, if you are doing how you should feel when you're doing it right is all the weight and all the tension is going through your glutes, your hamstrings, your quads, and a bit of your foot. So the minute you feel your back, it means that you have not set something up correctly. So either you never reset at the top, you never brace at the top, or or your initial start position wasn't good. Because if you wouldn't be able to pull smoothly if it's in your back, because all the force will just be going through your back, and your back will just be rounded like this. So it will feel like a very very tough exercise. So how you know you're doing it right is all the tension is just through your legs, like you are doing like kind of like you're doing a controlled like goblet squat or controlled squat, like a tempo squat and stuff. All the force is just going through your legs.
yeah, and through your evenly stacked joints. Thanks for that, JJ. The beauty with the 303 tempo, or any movement like that with like pauses and all that sort of stuff. The beauty about the movement is that it's harder to do wrong. So it teaches you to do it right. If you imagine doing the 303 tempo with bad technique, it's going to be very painful and uncomfortable. If you do it with good technique, it will feel fine. Okay, it'll just feel hard, of course, because it's time under tension. But that's the kind of like the purpose of the exercise. Get you familiar with the movement. So lastly is what JJ was going through before, the Sumo Romanian deadlift. Just to add in as an accessory exercise, okay? What you want to do is keep that between a 10 and a 12 repetition range. Reason being, that'll keep the intensity relatively low, okay? And we want to keep that between a 7 and an 8 RP just to make sure it's nice and safe. And then the cues there is just maintain a flat back. That's including your lumbar spine, the most important part of the back to be flat, and engage your glutes and hamstrings, and of course glute med. Okay, so if you need a guidance of where you need to be in the RPE range, it's down below in the chart.
And you can also you can do the sumo Romanian deadlift with dumbbells, kettlebells, or even the barbell itself. Just make sure that at the top you are making sure that your knees are out first, and then you sit the hips back after that. So if you just sit your hip back without focusing on the knees will definitely come in. It's just how the human anatomy is. So you have to use your glutes to keep your knees out first.
So it might be better to just deadlift that up as a normal sumo deadlift, and then just start the movement from the top as well. So you start the movement just with a hinge back and soft knees and push your hips back. Okay. Any questions, Audrey? I know I just said a whole bunch of words at you.
How to create long lats?
Long lats. Okay. So for me, to get the most out of the long lats is to simultaneously push your feet down and pull your torso up, okay, whilst grabbing onto the bar. And this will also help you take the slack out of the bar as well. So obviously set your grip up. You want to think of extending your arms as long as possible, then pulling your torso up and increasing that tension by pushing your feet down and trying to elongate your body through tension. So what you want to do is you want to think of torso up, feet down, and you want to try and make your lats longer by pushing against each other. Okay? Does that make sense?
Audrey, I can give you another analogy, which I have shared in my previous video. So you know Iron Man when he's about to take off. When Iron Man wants to fly, Iron Man wants to fly. What does he do?
I don't watch Iron Man.
Okay, so let me just show you. I'm gonna be Iron Man now. Okay, so when he's about to take off, he has his hand here, and then there's a beam over on his palm, right? So when he take off, he's gonna push his hand to the floor, correct? Okay, so now you try and do it by standing up. You raise your shoulders up, and then you push your hand to the floor. So this is called long arms, long legs. Yeah, you give it a try. We cannot see you though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Push your hand down as hard as possible. Don't rotate your elbow. Just keep it neutral and push down. So like that and like that. Yeah. So what do you feel? Do you feel your lats area and armpit area? Both hands together. And then keep your armpit together.
So make your arms as long as possible. Yes.
Yeah. You can feel your upper body suddenly becomes very, very tense up, right? Okay, so now you facilitate this down motion and you brace your core together. You'll feel that your upper body becomes very, very rigid.
Yeah.
So shoulders to press, pulling your shoulders down and lengthening your arms.
Yeah.
Or
So this
keeping
is
your
called
torso up.
this
I
is
cramped.
yeah, this is called long this is called long legs. And by doing these long legs, it is much more stronger than trying to bring your shoulders in. So when you do your setup, you like to bring your shoulders in like that. So by doing so, it's not as strong as keeping it down at the start. Okay. So what I advise you to do when you set up, right, instead of doing this to bring your shoulders in, you're gonna push it down first, and then you move your butt so that your shoulders can get in line. Okay. So it's back to this one, the setup where I've shown you. How do I move my lower body while keeping my upper body rigid? So when you set up, right? So when you go into the bar, you set your stance. Then you create an external rotation by slightly bending your knees and squeeze your glute medius. The next thing you want to do is to reach your hands down first. Don't grab the bar. You reach your hands down, create the Iron Man thingy. Okay, maintain that engagement, the upper body tightness. Then you slowly maneuver your lower body until you grab the bar. Okay, so that's what you should do. Okay, okay, can
Just like how I do in the video, in order to like make my legs tight.
Yeah. So instead of doing that, you should be doing this downwards, because if you bring from the front to the back, it does not create that tight feeling as compared to down only.
And you also shorten your hands when you bring it back like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it becomes shorter as compared to down. So the downward motion, the long legs cue is much better than bringing it like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
But you have to get in the position to do that first. You can't be over the bar, then try and long lats, because that won't work. You want to get in the position so your armpits are over the bar, then depress your shoulders by grabbing the bar and lengthening your arms by pulling your torso up and pulling your shoulders down and grabbing onto the bar. Yep.
And yeah, one more question, because I actually as what Clinton said just now, right? There's two types of sumo setup, right? One is just pull the bar first and bring the hip in, and another one is bring your hip down and like kind of sit down and pull. So I try the one that I bring my hip. Before that, I try my hip. I bring my hip down as like sitting down, but I felt like I got no power to like pull the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand, because I think that is because you try to keep your body as upright as possible. So remember, in order to create create power and torque, you need to create a slight torso angle. So if you go down like that, what's gonna happen is your hips is gonna start to go lower and lower and lower until you reach a point where, imagine this is your knees and this is your hips. It meets in line like that. So if you are in this position, even though your shoulders are in line, you are in a very weak position, because it's very hard to create that quad extension and hip extension at the same time. So what you should do, right, is imagine this is my head, my face is my head, and my elbow is my hips. Okay. So as I'm going down, instead of going down this way, I need to go down a little bit and then lean back so that my hips stay high and my knees stay low. Okay. And then by the time your arm is like that, you grab the bar and then you push it away. So it goes back to the principle where your hips always needs to be higher than the knees. Yeah. So the reason why you feel no power, right, is pretty much because you bring your hips in line with the knees already. So you lose a lot of power from there. Yeah. So remember, when you do the static setup, right, the only downside of static setup is you can never find the optimal hip position. But by doing the static setup, it can help to create and learn that starting position first. So the first approach you should go for is to do the static, but remember to sit back and lean forward until you feel that your hips are always higher than the knees and your shoulders are in line. So from here you pull. Okay. So once you are used to the stance and the hip positioning and everything, meaning you are more consistent in your lower body angle and positioning, then you should move into the dynamic movement, which is one of the things I shared on my own IG, the setup where I bring my hips in, the Hanoi setup.
Mm.
Yeah. So um, based on experience, if you are a new lifter who does not have a good understanding of how to create a better position, it is best to start in a static movement first. So once you are good at it already, then you can start looking into creating a dynamic movement so that your hips can be more consistent whenever you pull. Okay. Do you have any more questions for us,
No.
JJ or Adam? Anything else to add?
Just one thing about the hips as well. The last thing before we close is when you so one thing that you can try to feel when you go hips back is once you're as you are lowering, you want to have some quad tension, some glute tension, and some hamstring tension as well. So if you just sink your hips down all the way, right, there will come a point where you're just kind of like white stance squatting the way up. So that's why it feels not very powerful. So if you sit back a bit, you actually imagine your hamstring again is like a rubber band and this is your knee, right? You actually put your bit of slack into your hamstring here, and then with that you can use it to also extend the hip up as well. And what that will also do is also give you more stability at the hips so that you don't feel it's so sticky off the floor.
Yeah. Remember the house concept that Adam has showed with you. So you need to try and create this kind of stacking. If your hips are too low, right, until the house doesn't have a roof, right, then you become very, very weak. Okay. All right. So Adam, anything to add?
Just quickly, with the 303 tempo as well, if you're doing that movement, the best way to film that is from the side. So once you film that from the side and you do a touch and go and you pause it just before you touch the floor, you will be most of the time you will be in the most perfect position there, and that is that you want to try and replicate that position, especially if you're going to try the static position. You want to try and see if you can replicate that. So moving forward, when you go into your competition day, film that from the side and see if you can play around with your warm-ups and try and replicate that position, because most of the time when you reverse the movement and just before you release all tension, you'll be in that position where you need to be.
Yeah. So just like in this video, it's a tempo descent. So once I reach the floor, right, my hips always stay higher than the knees. So I maintain that tension and then I pull again. Yeah.
So
Whereas
his
in the
position is in the good position there.
Yeah, correct. So as you can see, right, I was never super upright. In fact, my torso is slightly lean forward. So in a sumo, right, even though yes, we want the hips to be close to the bar, it doesn't mean that I need to be super upright. So for those incredible sumo deadlifters out there with a super upright torso, it's because of their leverages where their torso is super super short and their femur is that long. So we are looking at people like me, JJ, Adam, and in fact you, because from the video we can see that you have quite a long torso as well. So we all belong to the same category as short arms. The ox lah, short arms, big torso cannot deadlift one. You have to expect yourself to have a certain degree of forward lean. Yeah, but that forward lean is gonna help you create an advantage and power to drive the weight up. So do not be afraid if you are slightly more lean forward. Okay, so this is one of the misconceptions people thought they should be lah. But obviously you should not be in this position because this is too critical for you to create leg extension. Okay, okay, let's wrap this up because we do not have time. So, um, once again, I'm quite happy for you to join us in the deadlift analysis, and I hope that you learn quite a bit from all the presentations we have prepared for you. It's quite a complex one, so we really hope that you get it. And as much as possible, we have already answered most of your queries. If you have any more questions, you can continue to PM us individually or through Technic Matters IG so that we can help you. So when it's finally time for you to train, let us know whether the cues work or not. And also, you can start doing some of the preparation exercises like the lateral leg raises to see whether you can feel your glute medius or not. If you cannot feel, just send us a video through IG and then we'll help you with that. Okay. With that, I would like to thank you for the time, and those viewers out there who are watching it. Thank you for the time. It's a little bit long for the deadlift, but I hope you appreciate what we are trying to deliver to you. So if you really enjoy and find this content useful, please help to share, subscribe, and bring this out to as many people as possible. All right. Okay. Goodbye.
Thanks, Audrey.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.